Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Kevin Morby album, Oh My God. Kevin Morby is a Texas-based indie rock and folk rock musician, also had a short stint in Woods, one of my favorite folk bands like ever. I really caught wind in 2013 of his solo stuff, around the time of his Harlem River album, and while I wasn't absolutely nuts about that album, I saw tons of potential. Mostly in the 9-minute staggering title track that I loved so damn much. And like I said, while the rest of the album underwhelmed me a little bit, I thought Kevin's lyrics, especially the very visual style of the album, was something to really behold. And while I might be in the minority here, I wasn't really into his next album, Still Life, either. But with 2016 Singing Saw, Kevin really cemented, at least in my eyes, his place in the modern indie rock and folk rock world as one of the freshest faces around. This was a vibrant, practically psychedelic album from start to finish with tons of really great, fresh ideas for the genre. Not to mention, lyrically, Kevin had gone to the next level and completely outdone himself. And 2017 City Music is a really great album as well. While a lot of other people put it on their year-end lists and top 10s and things like that, I didn't love it that much, but I really just thought it was just a great reminder of just how much of a presence Kevin Morby was right now. Now, with these new singles, Kevin is obviously going for a new sort of sound. He's really toned it down, gone for a much more spiritual sound. Guess what? This is a very spiritual album. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with its title track, Oh My God. Very classy intro. I actually really sort of love the ragtime feel that we get here. It actually really drives home the sort of gospel undertones that this album has in spades. And Kevin's vocals, I love just how smoky and just how dreary they've become over the years. It's not the punchiest of starts, to be honest, but it really sets the tone for this album. My only slight complaint, and it's one that's only going to get bigger later, but for now it's just kind of a minor thing. Some of the songwriting here, it's a little straightforward, it's a little repetitive, but honestly, on this track at least, Kevin uses it to his advantage. Kevin ends up really pulling this one off and making it into a very heartwarming, very spiritual track. And that opening up into those classy backing vocals. Super classy. No, a lot of this album is actually really classy, just great spiritual folk rock. No Halo is a little bit more punchier. I love the steady, patient drumming and just how meditative this one is. It actually gets pretty damn hypnotic by the end of it. And I love the very stripped down sound of this. If you were into the more electric folk rock of his last few albums, you might be taken aback a little by this. This might take a little bit to grow on you. And the horns and flutes are a really nice touch as well. But once again, like I said with the intro, while here it works, I feel like some of this repetitive songwriting can get a little tiresome to some, especially by the end of the album. But for now, though, it really works, and I love just how massive this one builds up over time. It's not the heaviest of tracks. No track here is really too heavy, but a lot of these have a very heavy presence to them. And with Nothing Sacred, All Things Wild, the very meditative, soft, hypnotic sounds of this album continue in a big way. Kevin's vocals are just so smooth, so silky. It ends up driving home the purpose of this album a whole lot more. Most of the time on this album, he sounds just so at peace with himself. I mean, it's still kind of stunning to hear him just strip down his sound this much, but it's very powerful. Savannah, later on in the album, might be a very short track, but it's very powerful as well. It's very quiet, very meditative, really have to sit with this. But it's in moments like this that Kevin just has such a freaking presence to him in his performance. The almost spoken word feel to this is fantastic, and the dramatic pauses, while on other tracks on this album have been a little cheesy, are actually stunning here. And earlier on in this album, I kind of wanted a break from these lighter tunes, but in tracks like Savannah, it really reels me back in very quickly. But as this album rolls on, there are a handful of tracks here where I feel like Kevin's heart is certainly in the right place, but this sound could have been elaborated on a little bit. Seven Devils, for example, certainly starts sweet. But because we get such a slew of very slow-burning, meditative tracks in the start of the album, I feel like I need a break from this sound at this point. Trust me, it's not any less sweet or heartfelt or emotional. Kevin still gets all his points home, and I still like that element to it quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I don't really, truly hate this track. But from a lyrical standpoint here, I feel like Kevin is starting to crack a little bit. In times like this, it just comes off a little bit more bloated than anything. Now, this is a longer tune, and it honestly picks up into a pretty great, more upbeat track when it opens up a little bit. But this track just sort of serves as a firm reminder that this new, meditative, sort of gospel sound that Kevin's going is solid, but I think it still needs room to grow. and it's certainly not as flawless as I hoped. Piss River, as it starts up, just seems a little unfocused for my liking. Like, Kevin does reel me in a little bit of a way, with a very stunning lyrical composition, as well as this big, gigantic sing-along chorus. But this is just another sign to me that this album is slowly unraveling. The oh my god theme that this album started off with came across so strong, but by this point, like, I feel like it's running a little stale. Like, this is still a very stunning, visual, sprawling folk tune that has a lot going for it. But some of the themes and elements and even some of the lyrics just seem a little recycled to me. And with Storm Beneath the Weather, oh boy. Let me just say, like, I don't have a problem with an ambient interlude, but we just didn't need it here. It adds absolutely nothing, and it wastes my time. And with Congratulations, Kevin takes a real serious turn for the weird. I'm sorry, but I'm not into this track at all. As a matter of fact, it's my least favorite track of the bunch. Like, I certainly do appreciate the very majestic feel to this one, but in a really strange way, this track just comes off way too much like a gospel track. Not just Kevin's very interesting, refreshed, new look on, like, the gospel genre. Result is just sort of goofy and just really poorly written. And that call and answer section towards the end, like, Kevin was onto something with that idea, but it just didn't pan out. And Ballad of Faye late in the album is just a little too cheesy for my liking. Like, once again, I think Kevin has a lot of really great, refreshed ideas. But tracks like this just tend to come off goofy at times, and I can't shy away from that. Like, this is an okay interlude at best, but I dare you to find anything here that really added anything extra to the album. Thankfully, Kevin also does have a couple of surprises up his hands here. Like, there are a couple of straightforward tracks here that actually sound like they would have fit nicely on any of his other albums. Take, for example, Oh My God, Rock and Roll. To be honest, really didn't see this one coming. This is like an old-fashioned proto-punk jam in a weird way. Like, it certainly still has elements of gospel thrown in there, but it's just great to hear Kevin break out a little bit. And why the hell am I totally getting like a Velvet Underground, Lou Reed vibe from this in a big way? It's brilliant, and not only that, it's like super short and super catchy. It really breaks this album up in a great way. And that finale where that chorus comes in and just breaks through everything is like literally one of the most euphoric moments in music I've heard all year. Hail Mary's, once again, very refreshing. It's an upbeat sort of ragtime jam with a lot of cool elements to it. It's a very classic sounding track. Like, there are definitely moments here where you get like that sort of gospel era Bob Dylan feel. And to be honest, Kevin Morby really does a great job with hammering that sound home. So much so that when this track does slow down a little bit for this chorus, it's actually really refreshing. But the stop and go style of this track does bring things down for me a little, and I mean just a little, because I do still really love this track. And some of the instrumentals that pop in, like the horns and the keyboards, are really great. I want to be clean, however. I have nothing bad to say about this track. This track freaking is awesome. I love the gruff, sort of southern sound to this track. It's just so unlike everything else here. It's legitimately cool. Kevin is easily at his coolest here, and this track just has such a swagger to it. I didn't expect this. Like, not only does it sound great in context with the album, this would have sounded great on any of his albums. And Sing a Glad Song is great on a completely different level. This is the bluesy sort of jam that I really didn't think I needed right about now, but lo and behold, it may be the best track here. It's still very pensive, and it shows Kevin working on something small and building up on that. And honestly, it's moments like this that his very wordy performances come off at their strongest. It's all just so brilliant, while continuing to stick with the same themes that the rest of this album has done so well with. And most importantly, it's tracks like this that don't come off nearly as preachy as others. That's important. But oh behold, as a finale, like, I feel like I shouldn't completely hate this track, but this song, this sound has just been overdone so much on this album. Like, this track literally sounds like 6 other tracks here, maybe even more. It just ends up being really, really underwhelming. So this new sound for Kevin Morby, I don't think it's terrible. As a matter of fact, he does this sound like better than a lot of other people could have done with it. The very sort of gospel, very heartfelt performances here, really stunning. Lyrically, he's still so ahead of the game in folk right now, and he just comes through with a lot of really great, fresh themes for folk that hasn't been done in a really long time. Now, I do think that his songwriting here does falter, and like when it does, it's really, really bad, and some of the themes just keep coming back to haunt him, and just, I I feel like he has a lot of great ideas, but not all of them pan out nearly as cool as he thinks they do. I still think this is a very, decent folk rock and indie rock album right now, but Kevin could have done a lot more with this sound. I'm feeling a light 7 on this one, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you guys would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.